Dear Chosen One, a heartfelt thank you to everyone who has supported this message, whether through a super thanks donation or simply by being here, reading, engaging, and sharing your presence. Your support does not go unnoticed, and whether you donate or not, know this: you are deeply valued. This space exists for you. This message is yours. Another investigator admits defeat. I'm done with this case, he says, his voice trembling. Whatever you did, whoever you are, I've never seen anything like it. You've heard this before. You've seen it happen before. He is the fourth one this month, and just like the others, he walks away empty-handed. They sent him believing he was the best. Trained, tactical, fearless. They thought he could do what no one else had done, but just like those before him, he failed. They keep sending them, seasoned ex-military, former FBI, detectives who have tracked fugitives across borders, high-value targets through jungles, enemies through war zones. Yet one by one, they all return, silent, shaken, unwilling to explain what happened. Some return their checks uncashed, others disappear completely, and a few, those who got too close, never take another job again. Why does this keep happening? They have tracked the most elusive criminals, found people who didn't want to be found. So why can't they find you? What is it about you that unsettles them? What is it they are seeing but cannot explain? It isn't just that you're difficult to track. It's that something is stopping them. They come prepared with the latest surveillance technology, with predictive algorithms, with everything they have ever relied on to find people. But those tools fail when they are used on you. Could it be that you were never meant to be found? Could it be that something or someone stands between you and those who seek to track you? They don't know the answer, but they know they don't want to look any further. Some of them have whispered what they saw, not to their employers, but to themselves. Late at night, alone with their thoughts, they replay the moment it happened, the moment they felt something shift, the moment they realized they were not the ones in control. What did they see? What did they feel? We lost track of them. They were there, and then they weren't. I don't know how to explain it, but we couldn't touch them. It's bigger than us. They thought they were hunters. They thought they were trackers. But they became the ones being watched. Now tell me, Chosen One, have you ever felt it? Have you ever noticed how certain people seem drawn to you, studying you, watching you, only to walk away in silence? Have you ever sensed their presence, yet somehow they never got too close? Did you ever wonder why? Comment 777 below if you've ever felt like something unseen shields you, keeps you ahead, places you just beyond their grasp. If you've ever known, deep in your soul, that you are not like the others, that there is a reason you are here, that there is a reason they can't touch you, let them know you exist. Let them know you are here. Now, tell me, Chosen One, have you ever seen them watching? And more importantly, have you seen them walk away? God's chosen ones, they keep hiring people to track you, and they all come back, saying the same thing. Chosen One, do you realize the weight of your presence? In the underworld of surveillance and tracking, where control and manipulation reign, your name has become something more than just a target. It has become a whispered warning, an anomaly that disrupts the very foundation of their operations. You are not dangerous in the way they expect. You wield no weapons. You make no direct threats. Yet your existence alone shakes their confidence, leaving them unsettled. Why? Because they have never encountered someone like you before, someone who walks in divine authority, someone who moves outside their grasp, someone who turns their own game against them, exposing their weaknesses without ever lifting a finger. They arrive prepared, armed with their usual methods. Their notes are meticulously gathered, their equipment finely tuned. They have done this countless times before. To them, this should be routine. Another day, another subject, another success. But what happens when the subject refuses to fit into their design? When their usual approach meets something or someone beyond their comprehension, but something feels off. The moment they set their sights on you, before they even begin their so-called investigation, an unexplainable shift occurs. It begins subtly, a strange stillness in the air, as if time itself slows in your presence. A prickle at the back of their neck, an involuntary shudder as if unseen eyes are watching them. And yet, when they turn, no one is there. Logic tells them it's nothing, mere paranoia, a natural side effect of working in the shadows for so long. But is it truly paranoia, or is it something greater at work? For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. But deep inside they know better. Still they press forward. They do what they have always done. They ask around, expecting to hear the usual details, addresses, routines, habits, weaknesses. They try to place you into a pattern, something logical, something predictable. But what if there is no pattern? What if the very nature of who you are defies every framework they rely on? And yet, every piece of information contradicts the last. Every lead leads to a dead end. The more they seek to define you, the more elusive you become. How do you track someone who refuses to be contained? That's when the unraveling begins. Like the Pharisees who sought to entrap Jesus with their schemes, they find themselves tangled in their own nets. They set a net for my steps, my soul was bowed down. They dug a pit in my way, but they have fallen into it themselves. Psalm 57, verse 6. They come searching for you, only to leave with more questions than answers. The deeper they dig, the more they are forced to confront the reality that you do not fit into their carefully constructed world. What is it about you that causes their systems to fail? Why does their usual strategy fall apart in your presence? Could it be that you are not operating under the laws of this world, but under divine protection? What happens when those who seek to track you realize that it is not you they are watching, but something far greater standing behind you? This is only the beginning. The more they watch, the more they see, and the more they see, the more they fear. Chosen one, what should be simple turns into something inexplicably complex. What should be obvious becomes clouded in mystery. They hear your name, but it is never just a name. It carries weight, an unspoken force that lingers in the air long after it is spoken. Doesn't it make you wonder? Why does your presence unsettle them so much? They follow. They study you. They watch your every move, convinced they will uncover whatever it is that makes you different. But no matter how sophisticated their methods, no matter how determined their pursuit, something always slips through their fingers. You were here, but also not. They see traces of you, but you remain just beyond their grasp. And then, suddenly, they stop. Not because they have found what they were searching for, not because they have succeeded, but because something has stopped them. A force they cannot explain presses against their minds, making their very existence feel small, insignificant. It is not fear, it is not panic, it is something far greater, a moment of undeniable recognition. They put down their tools, they close their notebooks, they turn away, and when they return to the ones who sent them, they all say the same thing: leave it alone. They do not say this because they are afraid. They do not say this because they are weak. They say it because they saw something they were never meant to see. They have tracked many before, ghosts in the system, those who do not want to be found, and they have always succeeded. Their technology is unmatched: satellite imagery, facial recognition, behavioral analysis, and algorithms designed to predict every possible move a person could make. Then they met you. and everything collapsed. At first it seems like a small error. Their systems glitch, their data contradicts itself. Your presence is there, but also not. You move, but their records fail to capture how or when. They scan for your location, but all they receive is nothingness. They try again. No mistakes, no missing data, no reason for their failure, just nothing. It is as if something is shielding you, something beyond their understanding. Do you know what it is? For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. They have studied history. They have read about figures who were meant to be controlled, watched, and eliminated. Yet somehow they walked beyond the reach of those who pursued them. Nikola Tesla, a man ahead of his time, whose genius threatened the established powers. They tried to control his knowledge, to track his every innovation, yet his greatest discoveries vanished. Missing documents, lost blueprints, ideas that were never fully understood. It was as if something, or someone, ensured his secrets remained hidden. Bruce Lee, a man who moved faster than cameras could capture, scientists studied him, trying to break down his technique. But there was always something unexplainable about him, something that could never be replicated. Jesus Christ, the most watched, the most followed man in history. They believed they had silenced him, believed they had buried the truth with him. But what happened 3 days later? The tomb was empty, and now they meet you. Their instincts scream at them to try harder, to push forward, to uncover what lies beneath. But you, chosen one, were never meant to be found, never meant to be understood. Because you do not walk alone, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. And that is why, no matter how hard they try, they always fail. Chosen one, they widen the search. They bring in more experts, more technology, more eyes watching every angle. Why are they so desperate to track you? What is it about you that unsettles them so much? They scan security footage, cross-reference timestamps, and enhance images. They rewind, slow down, study every frame in meticulous detail. Surely, if they look close enough, they will find something, won't they? They analyze your steps, looking for patterns. But there is no pattern. How can that be? They run your movements against the most advanced behavioral algorithms, comparing them to criminals, fugitives, and those who do not want to be found. They expect to see hesitation, caution, small tells that betray fear. But they find nothing. You do not act like someone evading capture. You do not move like someone hiding. You do not erase your presence. Then why can't they reach you? You simply exist, unbound by their control. He made my feet like the feet of a deer and set me secure on the heights. Psalm 18:33. And now they begin to question everything. There have been others who should have been contained, yet somehow they slipped beyond reach. Others who defied the limits imposed on them. They remember Nikola Tesla, a man ahead of his time, whose knowledge could have changed the world. The most powerful forces sought to control him, to track his every idea, to own his mind. Yet, mysteriously, his most valuable research vanished. His blueprints went missing. His greatest discoveries remained secrets. Did he hide them? Or was something greater protecting them? They recall Houdini, the master escape artist, the one who could not be chained, could not be confined. Authorities locked him in iron restraints, sealed him in impossible traps, sank him into depths meant to consume him. And yet, he always emerged. How? Was it just skill, or was there something else at play? And then, of course, they remember Jesus, the most closely watched man in history, tracked by rulers, betrayed by those closest to him, placed under the guard of the strongest empire in the world. And yet, 3 days later, where was he? The stone was rolled away. The tomb was empty. Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, he has risen. Luke 24, 5-6. Are they beginning to see it now? They don't have the words for it, but something inside them shifts. They have chased many before, and they have always won, but this time something is different. You are not hiding. You are not running. Then why can't they find you? Because you are not moving alone. For he will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will lift me high upon a rock. Psalm 27:5. They try to convince themselves that this is temporary, that no one is beyond their reach forever, and yet, the harder they search, the more the truth stares back at them. You were never meant to be found. They cannot track what was never meant to be controlled. They cannot contain what walks with the hand of God. The closer they try to get, the worse it becomes. At first, they assume it's a temporary setback, a miscalculation, a minor flaw in their system. But as they refine their approach, bringing in more advanced tools, more experts, more strategies, something unsettling happens. The harder they push, the less they understand. Why? How is it possible that the very methods they've perfected fail so completely when applied to you? It isn't that they can't see you. You are there, right in front of them. The problem is deeper than that. Their methods do not work on you. Their technology was designed to predict behavior, but your movements do not follow a script. Their systems were built to track patterns, but you do not leave the kind of footprints they are used to following. It is as if they are trying to map the depths of the ocean with a matchstick, as if they are trying to capture a flame by grasping at smoke. They tell themselves that no one is untraceable, that no one is beyond analysis, and yet, as they keep pressing forward, an undeniable truth begins to emerge. You are not like the others. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. It reminds them of others who have defied logic before. Have they forgotten the countless times men have tried to contain the unstoppable? They tried to silence the prophets, yet their words echoed through history. They tried to erase the message of Christ, yet it spread to every corner of the earth. Why do they not see it? Why do they not understand? Something inside them starts to shift. Their calculations are failing. Their instincts are warning them. They have never faced someone like you before. Chosen one, their instincts, sharpened by years of experience, begin to fail them. These are not amateurs. They have spent their lives tracking the untrackable, studying human behavior, predicting the unpredictable. And yet as they focus on you, something shifts. They can't explain it, but they can feel it. There is an invisible force, an unseen boundary that they cannot cross. Their tools don't malfunction. Their technology doesn't glitch. Instead, it refuses you. It's as if the universe itself has drawn a line around you, not to keep you hidden, but to keep them out. You are my hiding place. You will protect me from trouble and surround me with songs of deliverance. Psalm 32:7. They don't understand. They have tracked people before, dangerous men, powerful figures, ghosts within the system. But you are different. You do not resist them. You do not run. And yet, no matter what they do, they cannot grasp you. It reminds them of something. They recall Edward Snowden, the man who exposed one of the largest surveillance operations in modern history. Governments with unlimited resources, intelligence agencies with access to the most advanced tracking systems in existence. And yet, he slipped right through them. Despite being the most wanted man on the planet at one point, despite every effort to locate and silence him, he remained just out of reach. Was it luck? Was it strategy? Or was there something else at play? Something unseen, something guiding him beyond their grasp? They shake the thought away. This is different. This is impossible. And then, an even stranger thing happens. The longer they watch you, the stronger the feeling grows. Their hands grow unsteady. Their thoughts drift. They forget why they were even looking in the first place. What is happening to them? They shake it off, refocus. It's just exhaustion, just another job. But then it happens again. You do something simple. Walk across a room, look at your phone, take a deep breath. Yet somehow it feels as though the very air around you shifts. The atmosphere bends, reacts, moves in ways they cannot define. And then they hear it. Not with their ears, but somewhere deeper. A whisper, a warning, a presence. They don't know what it is. They don't want to admit that they feel it, but they do. It reminds them of another figure from history, Rasputin, the man who defied death time and time again, a man whose presence unsettled even the most powerful rulers. They tried to poison him. He lived. They shot him. He stood back up. They drowned him. His body refused to sink. To this day, historians cannot fully explain why he was so difficult to kill. Was he simply lucky? Or was there something shielding him, something unseen? And now, as they look at you, the same question arises. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere, keeping watch on the wicked and the good. Proverbs 15:3. They came here to observe you, but now they are the ones being watched. Their pulse quickens. It doesn't make sense. It isn't logical. But they feel it, and it shakes them to their core. Chosen one, your existence bends reality in ways they do not understand. The world around you does not respond to you the way it does to others. Why is that? Why do the rules seem to shift when you are near? They try to gather information, but it slips through their fingers like sand. Files disappear. Footage becomes corrupted. Witnesses forget. How is this possible? They attempt to remain detached, to observe you with cold precision. But something pulls them in. It's not fear. It's not danger. It's something else. Recognition. Something deep within them. Something primal. Something beyond logic begins to stir. A knowing that bypasses thought and settles into their bones. Have they seen this before? Not in reports, not in data, but somewhere deeper, somewhere they cannot name, and suddenly they are no longer the tracker, no longer the observer, no longer the hunter. They are the witness. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. And they were never meant to see what they just saw. It is the same feeling that haunted Pontius Pilate the day he stood before Jesus. A Roman governor, a man of power and control. And yet, why did he feel so powerless? Why did he feel as though the man standing before him was not just another prisoner, but something far greater? Even after washing his hands of the situation, the weight of that moment never left him. He had witnessed something beyond his understanding. It is the same paralysis that overtook the scientists when they examined the Antikythera mechanism, a device thousands of years ahead of its time. How did something so advanced exist in an era where it shouldn't? Who built it? Who guided its creation? The more they studied it, the more questions it raised. And for some, an unsettling truth settled in. They were witnessing something that did not fit into their reality. And now, as they stand at the edge of your existence, the same realization grips them. If every tracker, every hunter, every seeker halts at the threshold of your presence, unable to go further, then what does that say about you? They return, but they are not the same. Chosen one, they were sent to track you, to gather data, to strip away the mystery surrounding you and break it down into numbers, reports, cold analysis. They were supposed to define you, to shrink your existence into something measurable, something small. But now, they don't have an explanation. They barely have words. They sit before their employers, staring at a blank screen, a notepad with nothing written on it. The information they were supposed to collect, gone, as if it never existed. The reports they were supposed to write, meaningless, because no logic can frame what they just witnessed. What do they even say? For the wisdom of this world is foolishness in God's sight. 1 Corinthians 3:19. How do they explain an encounter that wasn't physical but fundamental? How do they describe the moment the world itself shifted, when something unseen reached into their reality and made it clear that they were never truly in control? They try to put it into words. They go over their notes, forcing themselves to recall the details. But every sentence feels wrong. Every attempt at rationality crumbles under the weight of what they experienced. They remember reading about moments in history when men encountered something beyond human comprehension, something that defied the limits of science, of logic, of what was supposed to be possible. They think of J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, a man of reason, a scientist who had dedicated his life to understanding the nature of power. And yet, when he witnessed the first detonation, he did not rejoice. He did not celebrate his success. Instead, a deep horror filled him as he whispered words from ancient scripture. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." In that moment, he realized what he had done. He had touched something far beyond his own understanding. The air around him was different. The fabric of existence itself had shifted. And from that moment forward, he was never the same. The trackers shift in their seats, their fingers tightening around their pens. Was that what happened to them? Did they just witness something that cannot be undone? They remember Nicholas Copernicus, the man who looked to the heavens expecting to confirm what the world had always believed, that Earth was the center of everything. But instead, he found something else, a truth that shattered the foundation of human understanding. The sun did not revolve around the earth. The world was not what they thought it was. And for years, his discovery was not celebrated. It was rejected. Because when you witness something that changes everything, the hardest part is accepting it. And now, as they stare at their blank pages, at the report they cannot write, at the words they cannot form, a single realization creeps into their minds. They were supposed to document you, but instead, they became part of the story. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. And once you see the light, you can never go back to the dark. Chosen one, their reports don't read like intelligence briefings. They read like confessions. I don't know what happened. Something was there. I can't explain it, but they aren't normal. Number not normal. Something else, something they were never prepared for. Some of them stop writing altogether. Their words feel empty, insufficient. What do you say when logic fails? How do you explain something that refuses to be measured? Some leave their jobs without warning, abandoning careers built on certainty, because after encountering you, certainty no longer exists. And some don't even return, because tracking you was never just a mission, it was a message, and they received it loud and clear. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9. Your presence doesn't just repel threats, it rewrites people. They come in thinking they are investigators, operating from a place of control. They walk out realizing they were never meant to interfere. And now, they don't just suspect it, they know. They expected to be unnoticed, they expected to be in control. But you change the equation. The deeper they dig, the more the ground beneath them disappears. How do you study something that exists outside of your rules? How do you grasp something that bends the very nature of reality? At first they call it paranoia, but paranoia is fear of the unknown, and you are not unknown. You are undeniable. It reminds them of those who thought they could silence the truth before, the rulers who dismissed Joan of Arc as a mere girl, only to watch her lead armies beyond their comprehension. How did she defy them? How did she, without any military training, strike fear into the hearts of those who had built their empires on war? They labeled her a heretic, but they never truly understood her. It reminds them of Albert Einstein, a man whose mind operated outside the limits of his era. Governments wanted to recruit him, to control him, to understand what made his thinking so far beyond theirs. And yet, despite their efforts, there were things he saw that they never could. When asked about the source of his genius, he simply replied, "I want to know God's thoughts, the rest are details." And now, these trackers, these observers, these seekers, they thought they were studying you. They don't realize they were the ones being studied. The Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. Psalm 1 verse 6. Their methods, irrelevant. Their tactics, useless. Their pursuit, impossible. Because you don't need to run, you don't need to hide. You exist outside of their reach, outside of their understanding, and yet they feel you. Not as a presence, but as a force. The further they go, the clearer it becomes. This was never about watching you. This was about what happens when they try. Because the real question was never, "What are you doing?" It was, "Why are you still untouched?" And by the time they realize the answer, they are the ones looking over their shoulders. They are the ones trying to disappear. Because you don't just evade pursuit. You turn the hunters into the hunted. They think they're making the first move, that the decision to track you is theirs, that their strategy, their timing, their approach is calculated. They don't realize you already knew. Chosen one, before they gathered intelligence, you had already dismantled it. Before they took their first step, you had already blocked every road. Before they even spoke your name, you had already silenced the conversation. How is that possible? How can you exist beyond their reach, beyond their calculations, beyond their control? They don't realize it yet. But their failure was never just a possibility. It was a certainty. They were always going to lose. They assumed you would respond to their actions, that you would react like everyone else they had tracked before, but they never stopped to consider something crucial. What if their moves were never their own to begin with? For the Lord foils the plans of the nations. He thwarts the purposes of the peoples. Psalm 33:10. They don't understand how it happens, but the moment the thought enters their mind, before the plan is even set in motion, before the first order is given, something shifts. A force moves ahead of them, rearranging the pieces before they even have a chance to act. Roads close before they arrive. Signals fade before they transmit. Conversations die before they even begin. They never see you interfering, never catch you making a move, and yet every step they attempt to take leads them into nothingness. Their plans dissolve without warning. Their methods fail before they even begin. Their entire approach becomes obsolete before they can even understand why. How can they prepare for something they can't detect? How do you counteract something that moves in silence, that leaves no trace, that operates on an entirely different frequency? They were trained for patterns. They were conditioned to anticipate behavior, to predict movements, to track people who, like them, are bound by logic and limitation. But you are not bound. You don't simply stay ahead of them, you exist beyond their reach. It reminds them of Bobby Fischer, the chess prodigy who saw moves 10 steps ahead before his opponents even realized they were in trouble. His mastery over the board wasn't just about skill, it was about perception. By the time others thought they were making a move, the game had already been decided. His opponents never had a chance, because he had already played the game in his mind before it even began. It reminds them of Sun Tzu, the legendary strategist who once wrote, "Every battle is won before it is ever fought." Those who truly understood warfare never needed to step onto the battlefield. The best strategy is not to react, but to move before your enemy even knows what is happening. And now, here you are. They strategize. You already saw the outcome. They prepare. You already closed the door. They try again, but before they can even begin, their mission is neutralized. Not because you fought back, not because you resisted, because you never needed to. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. Isaiah 54:17. They don't understand how you stay ahead, how every attempt to track you leads to nothing. It isn't just avoidance, it isn't just evasion, it's something far more advanced. They attempt to predict your next move, but you do not move in ways they can define. They assume you will respond, but by the time they act, they are already too late. It's as if the very fabric of time itself bends around you, placing you outside their reach, outside their ability to measure, outside of their understanding. This is not instinct, this is not luck, this is precision. You move from a realm of quantum precognition. You see before they look, you know before they plan, and before they even take their first step, they've already lost. They thought they were in control, that they had power, that they dictated the terms of the game, but now they realize the truth. Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Isaiah 65:24. And now, stop right there. Yes, you. You already know how this ends. Chosen one, they reroute, they adapt, they refuse to accept defeat. They tell themselves they can outmaneuver whatever is blocking them, that if they push hard enough, they will break through. But every path they take leads to the same outcome: failure. A sudden roadblock, a crucial miscommunication that derails their efforts, a funding issue that wasn't there yesterday. Every attempt to move forward unravels, not slowly, but with crushing precision. At first, they dismiss it as bad luck, a minor inconvenience. But then it happens again and again. Meetings are cancelled at the last minute. Key figures withdraw their support. Technology that has never failed them before suddenly goes dark. They hesitate, just for a moment, but long enough to wonder, what is this? Why does every move they make collapse before it can even take form? How many times can the impossible happen before it stops being coincidence? They double down, refusing to acknowledge the growing unease creeping into their minds. But deep down, a question lingers. What exactly are they up against? The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. Psalm 34, verse 7. This is not bad luck, it is not resistance, it is intervention. They don't understand, they don't know what to call it. Some whisper about fate, others mention energy, some unseen force rewriting their outcomes before their plans even take shape. But what they fail to realize is, this isn't abstract, it is precise. The moment they set their eyes on you, the very moment they believe they have found a strategy, the foundation beneath them begins to shake. Not subtly, not quietly, but in ways they cannot ignore. What should be solid turns fragile. What should be simple becomes impossible. And every door they reach for slams shut in their face. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. Psalm 1, verse 6. They tell themselves that persistence will win, that their expertise, their resources, their strategies will eventually break through. So they force their way forward. They ignore the signs. They push harder, believing that sheer force will give them what they want. But the harder they push, the more violently the resistance comes. And soon, it isn't just external obstacles they are facing. People they trust begin to question them. Longtime allies hesitate. Doubt seeps into the cracks of their foundation. Even those closest to them start pulling away, unable to explain why. They tell themselves it's nothing, that it's just fear, just uncertainty, but deep down something is gnawing at them. They are not supposed to be here. Something is warning them to stop. And those who ignore it, they never make it through. Haven't they seen this before? They think of figures throughout history, men who seemed unstoppable, men who built empires, men who believed they controlled the world. And yet, time and time again, something greater than them stepped in. They remember Julius Caesar, a man so confident in his power that he walked unguarded among those he trusted, only to be struck down by the very people he believed were his allies. He thought he controlled them. He thought his rule was unshakable, but something larger was at play. They remember Napoleon Bonaparte, the war genius who conquered almost everything, until his empire collapsed around him, leaving him exiled on a distant island, powerless against a force he never saw coming. He had mastered war, he had mastered men, but he could not outmaneuver destiny itself. And now they begin to understand. They are not in control. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. Isaiah 54:17. And you do nothing, you don't fight back, you don't need to, because the forces around you have already decided the outcome. By the time they realize what's happening, by the time they start questioning the impossible failures stacking up against them, it's already over. They were never going to reach you. They were never meant to. Chosen one, you don't run, you don't hide, you don't need to. They assume you will react like everyone else. Panic, retreat, leave a trail they can follow. They believe that with enough effort, enough technology, they can track you, predict you, contain you. But they never stop to consider one thing. What if you are not meant to be tracked? They move with the confidence of those who think they have control. They operate within a system they trust, one built on logic, data, and precision. But you do not exist within their framework. You are not bound by the same rules, not subject to the same limitations. To them, you are both present and absent, seen and unseen, everywhere and nowhere. They expect a chase, a struggle, an opponent they can outmaneuver, but there is no pursuit. Not because you are running, but because they cannot catch what they cannot define. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear its sound, but you do not know where it comes from or where it is going. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit. John 3:8. They scan for you, comb through files, analyze movement, expecting to find a pattern. But how do you track something that doesn't move the way they expect? One moment, they are sure they have you. The next, you slip through their grasp like smoke. One moment, your name is in the records. The next, it's as if you were never there. They don't understand. They have never seen anything like this before. It reminds them of D.B. Cooper, the man who vanished without a trace after hijacking a plane, leaving authorities chasing shadows for decades. They thought they had all the clues, all the evidence. Yet, with all their resources, they never found him. How did he disappear so effortlessly? What force kept him beyond reach? It reminds them of Houdini, the escape artist who defied chains, locks, and even death itself. No matter how tightly they bound him, no matter how secure the prison, he always slipped through. It was never about breaking free. It was about never being truly captured in the first place. And now, here you are, another paradox standing before them. They think they lost you. They don't realize they never had you to begin with, because you don't evade them, you override them. Their technology, their tracking systems, their predictive models, all useless. Their methods were designed to follow those who leave footprints, to chase those who live inside the boundaries of their world. But you exist beyond it. Your energy is fluid, shifting between realms of perception. To those meant to see you, you shine, a beacon, a force, an undeniable presence. But to those who seek to track you, to map you, to reduce you to something small and measurable, you vanish. Their own eyes betray them, their own systems reject them. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. Colossians 3:3. They watch footage over and over, convinced you were there, convinced they saw you. But when they replay it, there is nothing. No error, no glitch, just absence. It isn't magic. It isn't deception. It is truth. Because you are not a target. You are not a fixed point on a map. You are a paradox, unreachable, untraceable, unstoppable. And no matter how hard they try, they will never see what was never meant for them. Chosen one, they think they can watch you. They believe they can study you, break you down into reports, reduce you to patterns, trackable movements and explainable behaviors. They assume their intent has power, that their observation will give them control. But they don't understand. You don't block them. You don't resist their attention. You don't even push back. You redirect it. The moment their focus locks onto you, something shifts. They don't notice it at first. They are too busy analyzing, too confident in their abilities to see what's happening beneath the surface. But their thoughts start to scatter. Their motives blur. Their reason for tracking you begins to change. At first, they tell themselves it's just a momentary lapse in concentration. But why do their minds keep drifting? They were here to watch you, to study you, to observe your every move. And yet, the longer they look, the less sure they are of what they're even looking for. They still take notes, still run analysis, still attempt to piece together a picture of who you are. But something is wrong. The deeper they go, the more lost they become. It isn't just the information that's slipping away, it's their own sense of purpose. Because every effort to intrude on your world becomes an experience for them. Every thought they have of you reflects back onto themselves. Every plan they create unravels into questions they never expected to ask. Why are they doing this? Why does this feel different? Why does their mission no longer make sense? The questions gnaw at them. They try to suppress them, but they won't go away. They try to shake it off, to push through the distractions, to regain their focus, to hold on to the objective they were given. But something inside them is changing. It is not just doubt, it is recognition. At first they resist it. They tell themselves they are simply overanalyzing, that they just need more time, more resources, a better approach. But the more they try to grasp clarity, the more it slips through their fingers. Because it was never about you. It was about them. Their intent fractures, their focus shatters. The need to spy on you turns into the need to understand you. The need to control you turns into the need to reflect on themselves, and this terrifies them. For the Word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. Hebrews 4:12. Haven't they seen this before? They remember others who set out to track something extraordinary, only to find themselves transformed instead. They think of Malcolm X, the man who once believed power came through force, through control, through dominance. But when he traveled to Mecca, he saw something that completely shattered his previous understanding. He had thought he knew the truth, until he encountered something greater than himself. His mission changed, his purpose deepened, and in the end, he could never go back to who he was before. They think of Carl Jung, a man of science, a psychologist who sought to define the unconscious mind. But the more he studied, the more he found himself questioning whether some things were beyond psychology, whether the unseen world held more truth than the one he could measure. He set out to understand human thought, only to end up face to face with mysteries that logic alone could not unravel. And now, these men who came to observe you, to break you down, to extract knowledge, find themselves changed. They believed they came to uncover your truth. They don't realize you revealed their own, because you are not an object of surveillance. You are a mirror. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. 1 Corinthians 13:12. They thought they were in control. thought they could dissect your presence from a safe distance. They never expected to be the ones under the microscope. By the time they look away, they are no longer the same person who started watching. At first, they will try to deny it, try to return to their mission, pretend that nothing has changed, but something inside them will never be the same. The seed has been planted. The questions will continue. They were sent to watch you. They never expected to find themselves. You didn't need to fight them. You didn't need to block them. Because intrusion never reached you, it became illusion. Chosen one, they won't stop. The one behind all of this, the one pulling the strings, the one who keeps sending people after you, believes they have everything they need to break through. They have resources, they have power, they have control, or at least they think they do. But do they? They assume that everything, everyone, can be tracked, that with enough money, enough manpower, enough force, someone will finally bring them an answer. But how do you track what does not belong to this world? How do you measure something beyond your comprehension? No matter how many they send, no matter how much effort they put in, it always ends the same way. There is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord. Proverbs 21:30. They wait for reports, for confirmations, for proof, but what they get instead is silence, or worse, confusion. One by one, the trackers return, not victorious, not triumphant, shaken. They sit down to explain, but the words don't come. They try to describe what happened, but every sentence contradicts itself. The data makes no sense. Their calculations fall apart. The further they went in search of you, the less they understood. We lost track of them. They were there, and then they weren't. I don't know how to explain it, but we couldn't touch them. It's bigger than us. This isn't what the one behind it all wants to hear. It enrages them. They refuse to accept it. They refuse to believe that you are beyond their reach. Because if that is true, then everything they have built their power on is a lie. Do they not remember history? How many times have the powerful believed they could control what was never meant to be theirs? Have they forgotten Pontius Pilate, a man with the full force of the Roman Empire behind him, standing before Jesus, believing he held the power to decide his fate? But did he? Even after washing his hands of responsibility, could he ever truly forget what he had witnessed? The truth is, he was never in control. Or what about Nikola Tesla, the man whose ideas were so far ahead of his time that those in power tried to contain him, tried to own his mind? But no matter how much they studied him, how much they spied on him, his greatest discoveries vanished. His blueprints disappeared. His knowledge slipped beyond their grasp, as if something greater had shielded it from their reach. And now, once again, history repeats itself. They double the resources. They send in new teams, more experienced ones. They change tactics. They use infrared scans, AI surveillance, psychological profilers, everything they have. And yet, every single time, the same result. Nothing. Why do they keep trying? How many times must they fail before they realize what they are up against? How many more will they send before they understand this was never about them? The Lord foils the plans of the nations. He thwarts the purposes of the peoples, but the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of his heart through all generations. Psalm 33, 10-11. This isn't about strategy. This isn't about resources. This is about you. You are not avoiding them. You are not resisting them. You exist beyond their control. Their system is built to track people inside a world of their making. But you do not belong to their world. So tell me, chosen one, what do you think will happen next? They will never have an answer. They will never have a report that makes sense. And the more they try, the more they fail. Because you are not part of their system, and no amount of power, no amount of money will ever change that. Chosen one, at some point, they stop trying, not because they have succeeded, not because they have found you, but because the very idea of tracking you becomes meaningless. How do you chase something that exists beyond your reach? How do you define what refuses to fit inside your framework? How do you measure what cannot be contained? The more they try to answer these questions, the more they realize they're asking the wrong ones. They built their entire existence around control, around classification, around predictability. They have spent their lives believing that everything can be mapped, everything can be studied, everything can be understood with enough effort. But you are beyond them, beyond their systems, beyond their comprehension. At first they tell themselves they just need more time, more resources, more advanced technology. But every new attempt brings them the same result: failure. They throw everything they have at you, expecting a breakthrough, expecting clarity. But all they get in return is silence. You are not resisting them. You are simply untouchable. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. They design tools to find people. But you are not just a person, you are a force. They created methods to capture movement. But you don't just move, you transcend. No data can measure you. No algorithm can predict you. No blueprint can map you. Because you don't exist within the framework. How long will it take them to accept it? How long before they realize that no amount of money, no level of expertise, no form of surveillance can ever break through the invisible barrier that separates you from them? History has tried to track people like you before. They think they are the first ones to attempt this, but they are not. They should remember Jesus, the most watched, the most followed, the most scrutinized man in history. The rulers of his time tracked his every move, hoping to silence him. But could they, even when they thought they had won, even when they thought they had buried the truth? 3 days later, the tomb was empty. They should remember Joan of Arc, a girl who came from nowhere and led armies, defying everything they understood about power. They condemned her, tried to erase her, burned her at the stake. Yet centuries later, her name remains. Her story still echoes. While those who sought to destroy her have been forgotten, they should remember Nikola Tesla, the genius who saw the world differently, who envisioned technology beyond his time. Governments and corporations tried to own his ideas, to control his mind, to bury his inventions. Yet, his greatest discoveries vanished. His most advanced work slipped from their hands, never to be found. So why do they think it will be any different now? Why do they still believe they can hold on to something that was never meant to be grasped? At first, they refuse to believe it. They are too invested, too desperate for control to accept the truth. They tell themselves they just need a better strategy, a stronger approach, a more advanced system. They double down, looking for new ways to break through, but nothing works. No method, no formula, no tactic has been enough. Because you are not something to be pursued, you are something to be witnessed. The eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to Him. 2 Chronicles 16:9. You are not a target, you are not a variable in their equations, and only those meant to see you will. Chosen one, to them you are a myth, a whisper, a force they cannot name. You exist in the space between logic and the unexplainable, beyond the limits of what they understand. No matter how much they study, no matter how many eyes they place on you, you remain an enigma. To the world, you are an anomaly, everywhere and nowhere, both present and absent. They try to define you, categorize you, reduce you to something measurable. But how can they measure what was never meant to fit inside their system? They cannot track what does not exist in their dimension. They cannot follow what moves between realms. They cannot capture what was never meant to be confined. No matter how advanced their systems, how precise their technology, it is as if something greater has drawn a line they can never cross. You are from below, I am from above. You are of this world. I am not of this world. John 8:23. They rely on technology, algorithms and surveillance, but none of it works. You do not operate under the same rules as those they have tracked before. They can follow criminals, rebels, and even the most secretive of individuals. But you are not hiding. You are simply beyond their reach. You are sovereign, unbound, unshaken, not because you fight to stay hidden, but because you were never meant to be caught. You move through the world untouched, untraceable, not by chance, by design. Yet they refuse to accept it. They cannot accept that something is beyond their grasp. So they send more eyes, more ears, more men. They hire them, one after another, professionals, hunters, trackers, the best, the ones who never fail, the ones who have found those who did not want to be found. They recruit men like those who hunted Edward Snowden, believing that no one can truly disappear. They bring in the same kind of specialists who have studied the movements of men like Julian Assange, watching and analyzing every step. They believe that with enough time and resources, they can do what they have always done: track, predict, and control. And yet one by one, they all stop. They all return. Eyes hollow, voices low. Something has changed in them. They say the same thing every time. I saw it. I felt it. I won't go back. No details, no explanations, just fear, raw, unshakable. What did they see? What did they feel? Why won't they speak? They were trained to handle fear. They have been in war zones, infiltrated underground networks, pursued men who would do anything to escape them. But this was different. This wasn't a chase. This wasn't a hunt. This was something else entirely. You don't run. You don't hide. You don't fight them. Yet they can't touch you, can't reach you. Something stops them. Something you don't even see. Something they won't describe. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. It reminds them of others in history who were untouchable, not because of power or secrecy, but because something greater was protecting them. Have they forgotten the accounts of those who tried to destroy Jesus, only for him to slip through their grasp? Time and time again, they sought to seize him, to put an end to his influence. But until the appointed time, he walked freely, untouched, beyond their reach. It reminds them of Leonardo da Vinci, a man whose mind seemed to exist centuries ahead of his time. Kings sought his knowledge, yet his most mysterious works, the secrets of flight, energy, and medicine, remained hidden, lost to those who wanted to claim them for themselves. How did such knowledge vanish? Was it truly lost, or was it never meant to fall into the wrong hands? Because you're different. You're not like the others. You're not like anyone. They have seen the unexplainable, and it terrifies them. They need to know why. They need to understand, but they can't. They won't. Because whatever's around you, whatever's in you, won't let them. Beloved chosen one, have you felt it? That shift in the air, that invisible wall they can't break through. They try, again and again, but it never works. They send more, push harder, change tactics, yet every time they fail. Because you are not theirs to find, not theirs to study, not theirs to claim. What do you think happens next? Do you think they'll give up? Or will they keep searching for something they were never meant to understand? You don't have to explain yourself. You don't owe anyone an answer. But if you've ever experienced this, if you've ever seen it happen, let us know. Share your thoughts in the comments or say nothing at all. Because the truth remains whether spoken or not, and so do they, watching, wondering, failing. Thank you for being here, for walking this path, for seeing what others do not. Whether you choose to support this message with a super thanks donation or simply by listening, reflecting, and engaging. Know that your presence is deeply valued. You don't have to give to be appreciated. You already are. May your path always be protected, unseen by those who wish to harm you, yet fully visible to the ones who are meant to walk beside you. May you be guided by wisdom beyond human understanding, shielded from forces that work against you, and strengthened in ways even you cannot yet comprehend. May your spirit remain unshaken, your vision clear, and your purpose undeniable. No obstacle can stand against what has already been set in motion for you. No force can undo what has already been decided in your favor. Stay strong, chosen one. You were never meant to be found, but you were always meant to be here.